rating 22 roguelikes from 2022. These are all games that I have played. December, end of the year, we get to reflect and look back at all the other games that came out thus far this year. Not everything is in 1.0. Some stuff is still in early access, so, you know, don't give it a big minus because it's an early access. But let's look at it on what it has so far. A lot of games have come out. This is... So the way how I did this, I only went through my own library. There's like 1 million roguelikes that came out this year. Not all action. Some of them are platformers. Some of them are building games. There's also a lot of Vampire Survivors likes. No 22, but I was thinking I would see Neophyte and Tiny Rogues. Neophyte, I think it's still a little early, but there are some games in here that are early access that I don't mind judging, like today. Tiny Rogues is one that's probably worthy of doing that. But to be perfectly honest, I have like 1 hour in Tiny Rogues. So I don't think I'm qualified to talk about it. Everyone's doing these. And are you gonna say, V, are you just copying? Yes, I am. I am 100% copying because everyone... Look, this is 3 months ago. December's not even done yet. I'm doing 22. We're gonna one-up everybody. They did 10, I saw 15. No one's doing 22 in 22. So that's where we make up the difference. Starting off with Just King. Just King is so it's technically an auto battler, but you have a character that you actually have to move yourself. It's a roguelike where you go through a map and it has like match 3 mechanics to it and legendaries. So you have each character, you equip the characters with the stuff, and then you lock them in a position around your king, and it's an auto battler, but you move them all around and they rotate. It's a cool game. It's extremely fun. It scratched a little bit of that teamfight tactics itch that I was sitting on because it was on a bad patch of teamfight tactics. But my only issue with the game was that there were only so many classes, and eventually, like, once you do certain combos, I feel like you were kind of done with the game. I mean, that's a lot different than other games where it's like you have 2 points in one class, 2 points in another class. Now you have this cool synergy where like there's tanks that tank extra well, and then your archers are doing like bonus archery stuff, and it's like it synergizes. I feel like Just King has a little bit of that, but maybe not enough. And I think right now it's 3 biomes unless they did a patch. Early access, new hero, so they're still adding heroes. Sun Wukong, pretty cool, with a Dragon Ball. It's an extremely fun game, but I worry about the time that you can spend. New patch, Spirit Realm, Blood Moon event. Yeah, I think if this cooks a little bit, it could probably go up into the A category. Revita. The dev is currently working on version 2.0. Ben is always working on their game. Always. And it's become probably like a labor of love. By the way, there's awards going out for labor of love. Please vote. For those who haven't seen Revita, it's a 2D platformer, bullet hell, twin stick shooter. There's no currency in the game. All of the unlocks you get are from spending health. So every time you spend HP, you get the ability to upgrade stuff. And as I said, Ben is here in the chat right now, not not a paid actor, by the way, not a paid actor. The game has both incremental increases and relics that have like fundamentally changing stuff. So you have to look at an item and say, okay, will this item give me the most pogs for 1 gourd to handle? If no, maybe you save the HP. If yes, maybe you take it. Or risk versus reward, as someone's saying, perhaps you take everything with the expectation that you will get your health back later by playing well, because the better you play, the more recovery you can get, or you might find an item that gives you recovery. So I'd say in terms of the relic choice, the secrets in the game's jam-packed with secrets. It has all kinds of little things to find along the way. The game has a heat system where you can level it up, and I want to say you can do it customized eventually. So if you're good at twin stick shooters, I would say it is actually like very, very comfortable to play. I'm not very comfortable in the game. I could maybe get there, but I'm not there yet. I don't have time to commit for it. So in terms of like your Binding of Isaacs or your Rogue Legacy 2s, those are games that will take easily tens, if not hundreds of hours to get everything you want, which is what the dev wants, right? The dev wants you to play their game. So like, take Slay the Spire, for example. If you want to actually be a 20 Ascension player in every character, you're going to take hundreds of hours to do that. I think Revita is a game where you could spend hundreds of hours to get into like the tippity top of the quote-unquote ladder. Obviously there's no ladder, but you make your own ladders. I don't know if I want a game where I'm not done unlocking things at 100 hours. It would be an A rank because I don't know if I will ever unlock everything to have like the ability to just play the game and have the chance for everything to show up. But I think that's a me issue. I don't think that's a dev issue. Despot's game is another auto battler. Once like around the time Super Auto Pets got really popular, I'm not saying that Super Auto Pets is the progenitor of this kind of stuff. I think these were already in development. A lot more people got confident in auto battlers. Despot's game, again, scratches that teamfight tactics itch that I always want to scratch. It has a biome run where you have to go through each biome, go through little ticks on the map, do a fight, win, and then eventually you get the best part of the game, which is PvP. There is PvP in this game. And you actually fight against people who are Giga Smurfs, Diamond Plus Masters players, with like the most busted setups that I don't even know how they got through the main game with a setup like this. But I mean, I guess I'm just bronze, so maybe that's the issue. The game, in terms of its like auto battler portion, is probably top notch to me. It's also very hard from the beginning as a new player. In fact, I think if I was a betting man, if I were to ask someone to play Despot's game, who like they know games, they know their Apex, Call of Duty, Fortnite, they can do all of it. Ask them to play Despot's game, they lose. I think they might uninstall the game. The game does not feel good to lose it. And then the run itself is extremely long if you want to do the runs. Sometimes, like, if I get this in draft, I can expect to spend like 2 hours plus in one run of Despot's game. If I want to talk and stuff like that. As a normal player, you're probably not talking as much as I do, but it takes a long time to get through it. And if you lose, the odds of going back might be even slimmer. This is the second in the series. Rogue Legacy 1, known to be the grand whatever of pretty much all the roguelites out right now, especially Dead Cells. Dead Cells took a lot of inspiration from Rogue Legacy 2. A lot of people only think about the Castlevania portion, but the Metroidvania portion is a little less Metroid and a little more Rogue Legacy. The whole point of the game is to have a character that is strong enough to beat the bosses. And I know like that doesn't sound right. Yes, point of every roguelite is to beat the bosses. But the whole spiel of this game is you will die, you collect money, the money is spent to upgrade the meta of the game, and then your characters are now stronger to beat the current boss, which then goes up to combat that. And it's just a back and forth. It's a seesaw effect. You get stronger, boss gets stronger. You get stronger, boss gets stronger. Eventually, you get to a point where you're so strong you're probably over leveling over the boss. And I think that's when like the players who are gonna drop off, they feel like, you know, I finally feel done with the game. It's right around there where they are now over leveled. And then there's the other people who are under leveled and are seeing the game as a massive grind. So yeah, here's your castle. Each tower has probably like 2 upgrades, and the upgrades cost money that you get in the run. So if you look at how this is set up, like imagine this is a row, 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 3 up top, flag up top. All cost money, all that you get in the run, and if you die, you lose some of it, and then you get to spend whatever you can. So like no one, I don't want to say no one, but there's a lot of people who don't want to grind, so I have to take away a point for that. My next complaint about Rogue Legacy 2 is that some of the characters don't feel as good to play as others. And they have done multiple patches to bring, it's almost like they're collecting data on win rates. And some characters, some classes have literally lower win rates than others, and they have tried to even that out. But some stuff in a roguelike sense, like if you see something drop, you just take it. So like in my opinion, I feel like I never lose a Valkyrie game. Valkyrie is a S+ tier character class in Rogue Legacy 2. If I take Gunslinger or Pirate, my win rate tanks. So I think there's a little bit of a balance issue when it comes to the classes, and it's fixable there. I cannot not play the winning class. This game's early access. It is not anywhere near completion. What Astral Ascent is a roguelite action game. It has cards in it. It's not a deck builder though. It's more so that you use spells on a rotation. So like you start off with like shoot gun, and then your next one is like slash, and then your next one is throw grenade, and then your next one is teleport. And you have a basic attack. The basic attack gives you your mana, and then you spend the mana to use a spell. That action to me is top notch. I love that kind of thing. They actually, okay, so I don't know if this is my feedback. I was gonna point out that they changed the art. This is now pixel art. At one time, this was drawn. And I want to say they actually took that as feedback. We don't want the drawn characters, leave it pixel. The bosses in the game are some of the best bosses I've seen in gaming. This is a relatively hard game. I want to say they solved the issue with like dying and not wanting to play again. What they did was that the bosses are based off of astral signs. So the gameplay loop of like dying and wanting to play again is not only that you unlock new spells, but the bosses are so entertaining that you want to see the next boss. And it's like different. It's different than say a Binding of Isaac, where it's like, okay, I died to mom. I want to go back because I know that after mom it's like cool stuff. And I'm just hard stuck versus mom. Compared to Sagittarius is a tsundere and beat the brakes off me. I want to either see more of her, or I want to see Leo, where Leo goes Super Saiyan, like SS3 Goku with the long hair and everything. It's like fantastic. I can't talk enough about it. The music in the first area is Resonant Sleeper. I almost have to play my own music when I do Astral Ascent. And like, I hate that because if you think about any roguelite, the first biome needs to be almost the best biome. At least in terms of music. I'm actually gonna leave this in the A tier. As an early access game, I really like it and looking forward to it. They gotta work on their difficulties too. They have a heat system. So for example, one heat is either monsters might explode on contact, or monsters might drop a mine. Once you turn that on, I feel like it's a little bit of a gimmick, I feel. and not a very fun gimmick at that. I'd rather it just be like monsters have like a bonus shield around them or something like that. I'm gonna have to play like this mini game of remembering that monsters might explode. This is the new patch. So when you're looking at this, warm snow. What's warm snow, V? All I see is like vomit on the screen. I see slashes and I see health bars. The boss, I can see this kinda. Characters, okay, that guy's kinda cool. Look at that thing. That thing looks gross. Is that the game? Because I like this. It is, but it's not all the game. This is their new patch. They added a timed mode. It's not really boss rush so much as it's like busted build, almost like Vampire Survivors-esque. Get busted or die, which is like a video that I put out on YouTube, literally called Get Busted or Die. You are the unnamed samurai fighting against hordes of enemies. There's so many builds, almost not really infinite, but you can go through and play something different almost every time. And the whole goal of the game is to literally destroy everything. It does a very good job of doing that. A matter of fact, the reason why you go back to playing this game is you were saying that that build was so freaking sweet. I gotta see more. Is the game hard? It can be. I'm not gonna say it's like the hardest roguelite. It's all about decision making and building. The harder you deal with building a character, the worse time you're gonna have. And the translations are really bad. So it's a Chinese dev. This game is actually published by Bilibili. The game is solely dependent on how good you do. And it's not really got a lot of recovery mechanics to it. But, oh my god, what do I don't like about the game? What can I give the game an actual minus on? Do I take points away from its translations? No, like, English is the second language. It's my fault for not speaking Chinese. Do I take away points for screen vomit? V, where's your character at? Who are you? Is that worthy of deducting a point? You have to consider the game for what it is. You don't even need to see your character eventually. You just need to know that your build is so strong, everything will die. Where your character is a non-issue. That's the whole point. V, how's the difficulty? Okay, there was a point where this actual scaling was unplayable. The final difficulty had so much HP bloat that if you didn't get godlike RNG in like the first biome, you can't win. It's a war of attrition at that point. That is my only complaint, and it has been fixed to some degree. So I'm a little biased. Okay, V, I see a little bit of a pattern here. The wilder the game, the higher it is on the tier list. Hey, you got me. I'm not even gonna contest that. S rank. Cult of the Lamb. Alright, Cult of the Lamb. A cozy game, if you will. Cult of the Lamb is an action roguelike inside of a cult simulator. How much simulator is there compared to roguelike? I say it's 60-40. 60% cult sim, but the cult sim is making your roguelite stronger. Almost think of the cult sim as the currency. The more you take care of the cult, the more that your character grows, you get more spells. But then you have to take care of the cult because they will die or they will turn on you, which in turn makes your character slightly weaker. It's not like game breaking if you lose people, because your character is already kind of strong. But it is kind of annoying to have to go back and sift through making your characters happy again. But the game has some of the best in class Twitch integration. So yes, you cultivate your cult. It leads you into better runs, but it's almost like a complete one-way street. If, for example, you're in a biome for too long and all your characters die, what's gonna happen? You go back into the biome and you get new characters. I'm already strong enough to do the biome. The only thing I'm really losing at that point is the ability to revive. So I don't think it did a very good job in like that gameplay loop of cultivate, be good in the biome, and then like be good in the biome equals cultivate, which it does, but like that's it. It's 1 for 1, 2, and then it stops there. Because like the feedback only opens up new biomes. It doesn't really make you care that much that they die. Can I risk losing 5 cult members to get like this legendary item? That doesn't exist in the game. And I feel like that was a major miss. Everything else I love in the game. I actually love the culting. I love the roguelite. It's a little basic, but as a cozy game, like if someone was to say, V, I love Animal Crossing. Would I love Cult of the Lamb? If I were to tell them, well, you need to be a god gamer to play the roguelike portion, that would suck. I'd rather them be able to play the game than me say that I enjoy the game because I feel like a Giga Smurf when I play it. So what is Source of Madness? Source of Madness is an action roguelike where you collect stuff. Almost think of like an action RPG, a Diablo or a Path of Exile. You're collecting stuff with random stats, and you stat out your character around that. I think it's also labeled as a Soulsborne, Lovecraftian, roguelite, action RPG. So yeah, the action RPG portion, which is like this right here, this is half the fun of the game. The other half of the fun is that every single monster in the game is procedurally generated. And like when you're looking at these creatures, you're thinking to yourself like, V, this looks kind of weird, right? It's because the creature is actually pieced together from like some sort of algorithm. So like this isn't gonna look the same as it does in your game. It has a little bit of that feel to it in the environment. The environment is like really, it's almost like an acid trip, to be perfectly honest. It's extremely weird, but it's still fun to me. So what are the issues with the game? Okay, someone said in the chat, menu equals fun. And I understand that's not gonna be the case for everybody. But like piecing together a build off of RNG items is like sort of fun to me. I don't know how long that's gonna be fun. I'm sure it's fun when you find something godlike, but when you find nothing but junk for like an hour, okay. I think I had enough. I like the monster design, but some of the monsters in the procedural generation, it's a little off. Like for example, you may have a monster that has hitboxes in the wall, so like you could just attack the wall and not interact with the monster. I don't think the dev has anything they can do about that except for rewrite the proc gen. But it's also like part of the appeal of the game is that the proc gen is so out of this world that weird stuff like that can happen. The other piece of the game is that you go very far. Think almost like a Dark Souls. You start off at your campfire and you go out and there's no more campfires for a long time. When you die without finding another campfire, it feels god-awful. And I think that's like the one thing I don't like about this game, above all else, is that dying feels terrible. And I said that about Despot's game, but at least in Despot's game, like I know what to expect. In Source of Madness, you don't, because the proc gen might be otherworldly. You have no idea what's about to happen. This is the Konami game. This is where V was saying, I'm a little worried that Konami would like to collab with Dead Cells because Konami's Dead Cells killer is a little mid. And I don't like to say that, to be perfectly honest. I hate to say it. Because honestly, the game's beautiful. Like, S tier for art, S tier for music, S tier monster design, S tier character design, S tier UI. The game looks fantastic. But what the game has fatal flaws in is where games like Dead Cells, games like Celeste, and a lot of others fixed, was that you need to have that feel. The feel that when the character does an action, there's some sort of like bells and whistles, some sort of levers that are in place that let the player express themselves. Dead Cells, let me give you the perfect example. In Dead Cells, you have phaser. When you phaser onto a target, you're supposed to go behind the target. The target is actually snared for like half a second so that it doesn't turn around. That's that extra sauce that you didn't know was there. It's not even in the description of the item. They expect you to play this like backstab gameplay. They have to make sure the monster doesn't turn around. Getsufumaden doesn't have that. Getsu has your gameplay, the monster's gameplay, and those are like separate from each other. You have to play assuming that the monster will do X, Y, Z. And a lot of people don't want to go through that hoop. I want the game to kind of like let me do my thing, express the skill, and not have to just play based off of the game's allowances. So we're gonna take a notch off because of the gameplay. The biomes are extremely long, like some of the biggest biomes I've ever seen in any game. And it is a Castlevania-like, if you will, not a Metroidvania, just a Castlevania. So there's no real meta unlocks besides like more health flasks, higher rarity stuff, etc., etc. There's no like additional movement tech that you get to traverse around these gigantic maps with teleports in each corner of the map. Very, very bad. Outside of that, like the gameplay loop of play the game, restart, it's good for a while if you start skipping stuff. And I'd hate to say that. Like, I hate the idea of not full clearing a biome. But the game's great if you start skipping half of it. Like, if you cut the runtime from 2 hours down to 1 hour, sure, the game's probably fantastic. And if they were to do that, literally cut the game half, I think it would have done better. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at. Peglin. This is a $16 game? Holy crap. Now, I'm not being toxic as in like all games should be $3. But this game, at the price point, like you look at this, you're thinking, V, this looks like it should be a $3 game. You're not thinking about all the little details, the little intricacies that make this game actually fun. So, as you're looking at this, V, it's Peggle. I drop a ball into pegs, they pop, and then it does damage to the monster. How fun can that actually be? You're missing this piece right here. These things in the corner, as well as these things right here. These are all different balls. The dev has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 balls that this person's using. That means between all of these and all of these, multiply it, I don't know who's a math major in the chat or not, but there's trillions of possibilities of making like a Peggle run. Some of them are giga busted, some of them fall flat, and it's like up to you to figure out what that is. And then the game has, on top of that, crucibles that actually like increase the difficulty. So how can you increase difficulty in Peggle? I don't know. But it makes that like gameplay loop of I have to play again because I gotta see what in the world is higher difficulty Peglin. what in the world is like that build, and why is it not working in my next run? $20 full price is a great game, but I might be biased because it's one of your main games. So, okay, V. How would you rate this? It has probably best in class deck builder concept. It's like, it's out of the box. Maybe that is deserving of praise in and of itself. You have all of these games. Clones, if you will. Peglin took an idea and actually went out of the box. I'm not saying that everything in here is a clone. A lot of them are not. As a matter of fact, most of these are not really clones of anything at all. I'd say each one of these devs went out of the box in their own way, which is fantastic. Peglin went like way out of the box and bought a new box and put themselves in that box. Like that, I think is worthy of a lot of praise. My only issue with the game is that sometimes I expect the build to work and it just doesn't. And I don't want to blame it on RNG. I don't want to blame it on the pegs. Right? I tossed it and then all of a sudden it didn't do what I want. That's part of the fun of the game, is that it went like straight down the hole when it was supposed to bounce. Like that should be fun. I don't know, maybe I keep it in the S tier because it's something that I would play right now if I had the option. And it's just, there's nothing like it. All right, Shovel Knight Dig. So Shovel Knight Dig, I have not played any other Shovel Knight games. I did play this one. I like it, but for some reason, it is actually very difficult for me. I don't know why. There's a little bit of a gameplay loop where you die, you get currency, you go back, you spend the currency. But if you don't progress beyond like a certain area, you don't really progress at all. It's very, very limited in that regard. The game is beautiful. Like when you look at this is some of the best pixel graphics ever in gaming. The gameplay itself, it's like Downwell, where you go down, there's a little bit of a ghost mechanic like Spelunky, where you can't stay in one area for too long. And you're not really speed running, but you're kind of in a rhythm. Not really a rhythm game, but you're kind of in a rhythm. I think that's very cool, very good, but I feel as though it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people who, like, their best part about these platformer games is getting to every platform. That's the fun. I don't want to say it's a speedrunner game, because you don't have to be a speedrunner to play it, but I think I'd like, maybe if they had, like, casual modes to it that doesn't have the ghost mechanic, and maybe it does, I just don't know. I would like it a little more. I don't think this is a game that I would be trying to, like, be diamond in. No pun intended. I don't mind being silver in Shovel Knight playing the casual mode. The action's fun, has a little bit of relics to it. The game is not in early access, it's full release. Really? Very positive. It's mostly positive. Yeah, the game, it's fine. I struggle with it a little bit in terms of difficulty. And if I lose before I get to the next biome, I really don't like playing it again. It's a game where if I die, I kinda have to shelve it until I'm in the mood to play again. So when I hear Overcooked as a roguelite, what I think of is that it's a cooking game where I have like randomized dishes and then I have to serve the dishes. And then like curses will appear, which make the game harder. And it's up to me to figure out how to outplay the curse with the stuff that the game gives me. And it does have that. That is very true. But what the game also has, which I actually think is the real game. So there's two games in here. There's one where it's like, there's the roguelike piece. And then there's number 2. It's like, that's this. This is the best example. Okay, so we have all of this stuff. You are making pies, I think. I think that's a pie, or maybe a waffle. Waffle, steak, and tomatoes. That doesn't sound very good, but that's fun. I actually think that's extremely entertaining. How do you counter this? Okay, we need good burners for our steaks to not take too long. We need wet pads so that the grease from the steak doesn't make the ground wet. We need to place everything in a position to serve the customers quickly. That's great. Let me see if it shows the bad. Okay. And this is, I'm not gonna say that this is outright bad. All I'm saying is that this is the second game. You only saw half of it. The second game is Conveyor Simulator. How do you beat the game? You need to make a conveyor belt system. Like you're playing like the highest level Civilization or like cult sim games out there, to self-serve as much as possible. This is someone playing the game solo right now. This is one player serving everybody off of this system. And I personally do not like this. Now, you can probably play the game without doing this, but I know this exists and I can't do it, so I feel like I am losing half the game. So because of that, I have to deduct a point. I know like watching people do that 200 IQ strat stuff is extremely compelling, and a lot of people make that their content. They are a PlateUp streamer where they have like this super sophisticated setup. I understand that. I can't do it. I feel like I have to deduct a point for that because that's probably half the game. What else do I not like about the game? I feel like the lose condition is extremely unforgiving. Basically, if you lose one customer, I believe it is a loss of the run. You could be at the very, very end. And I don't know if there's like, in the roguelike, things you can collect where if you lose one customer, you don't actually lose the run, like you have a health bar and maybe it does half your health. But like, I don't like making one mistake, missing one freaking Yelp reviewer, not even Yelp, like a Google reviewer. They leave a 1-star review on my restaurant and the restaurant has to close down? That's, I don't know, I can't really say that one. Like, that's not Gordon Ramsay Hell Kitchen. It's one person. So what Domekeeper is, I actually think like Domekeeper's a cozy game. Like if you're an Animal Crossing or a Stardew Valley fan, I think you would like Domekeeper. It's not like super big brain, but if you make a good decision, it sticks with you, and when you make a bad decision, the game does a pretty decent job of telling you you made a bad decision. Everything's on a timer. The stuff that you find is usually always a plus. So what the game is that you have a dome, you protect the dome from waves of enemies that come in on a certain time, and then once that's done, you go down, mine around a bit, get stuff, go back up, rinse, repeat until the run is over. You will probably die a lot in your first hour or so of playing the game, but as I said, every time you die, you do something different. Like, this is not a game where you repeat mistakes, because you know what the mistake is. And they also have a lot of stuff to offer you to change your gameplay a little bit. I think it's very good at doing that. The only thing I don't like about the game is that you don't get a ton of the unlocks right away. I think there's a little bit of you have to progress, you have to do well in order to get some kind of new stuff for your next run. And I feel as though, and that's probably something that could be changed. I feel like if someone was to do, you know, not so great on a run, get nothing out of it, and have to do that run all over again, but just make these like tiny changes, there may be a chance that they don't try again. And like, that's always my worry when it comes to these games. So if I got rewards sooner, I think it would be an S tier. But right now it's in the A, but this can definitely go up. Have you tried Rising Hell? It's a pretty niche game. That's like the opposite of Downwell, right? Where are you a rock and roll demon? Trying to go up out of hell? That sounds familiar. I didn't play it, I ended up skipping this one. No particular reason. It looks great, but I think I just played something else. Different heroes, different price styles. Yeah, it looks beautiful. I just, you all know me. I have 50 million games to play and still have my full-time job. Feels bad. I know Shotgun Ging is great. I was saying PlateUp. As in PlateUp is not good, or PlateUp is good? Sorry if I missed a little bit of chat there. Okay, Loopmancer. We gotta look at Loopmancer. Two-minute trailer. All right, so Loopmancer is an action roguelike with story to it. And honestly, it's a good story. Like, I tell you, I don't want to say I don't like story games, but I stream. And like, when I'm on stream, I worry about like, people are gonna fall asleep if I play the story out. But this story in this game, I'm invested. And like, I almost want to play it offline as soon as I'm done because I want to know more. That's like S tier quality to me. As I said, it's an action game. You have guns, you have a melee, and then you have like skills. Almost like Dead Cells. It's almost the exact control fig as Dead Cells is. Even like some of the biome movement is very Dead Cells. Very bloody game. A lot of cursing in the game, but they actually added a filter that I turned on for less profanity. It is a Chinese game, so I think there's a couple of translation issues, but outside of that, it does have voice acting. Again, like, extra points. So what's the issues I have with the game? Healing is extremely slim. So if you take a big hit, it is so punishing. It's like, you almost want to just turn the game off immediately. Because the chance of you getting that health back is extremely slim. And there may be meta progression I don't have, which would make it a lot easier. But the whole point of the game is kind of designed for you to die. Like, you cannot win your first run because they expect you to die, and then the routing changes a little bit, and you may get other stuff on an alternate route that will help you on route left. So the game, I don't want to say it's too hard, it's just that I can't recover the way how I would like to. So I'm gonna deduct a point from that. The skills are kind of bad, except for grenades. Like, there's some stuff like flamethrower, but like if I'm gonna do a flamethrower, I might as well just shoot my gun. I just want grenades. I think they spent too much time on the melee weapons and guns, and not enough time on the skills. So that's a point deduction. Outside of that, there were some issues with graphics, but that's fixable. Obviously, there's translation and then some of the profanity, but that's adjustable. Story is really fun. I think it's a B for me. If it could be any better, I would put it in the S tier. I also have a sword from... I kind of want to show this because I never get to bring it down. There it is. Loop. The loop. That's the loop. Deflector. Deflector is a top-down, well, really isometric, but it's better to think of it as top-down action roguelike that is different from Hades, where your main DPS is deflecting, parrying, if you will. But because it's top-down, the way how the parry works is that you basically have like this field in front of you. There's not a lot of deflecting in this trailer, by the way. You have this field in front of you, and you activate the field like you're doing a parry, and then whatever bullet is coming at you gets reflected. But you can also reflect your own attack. And that's like the big piece of the game, except for this character who can apparently just shoot. But that boomerang, think about Sivir from League of Legends. You use your Q, the Q comes back, you deflect it, and the Q goes back out with a bonus. Like all of this here, this system could be like when you reflect, your bullet splits in two. When you reflect, enemies are frozen on hit. When you reflect, you do like an explosion behind you that knocks enemies away. Very, very cool system. My only issue with the game is that not everything can be deflected. So looking at this right here, and okay, I get it. It's a little bit of balance, because if you could deflect everything, then you may as well just stand in the corner and just spam parry. I get it. So in this formation, the red orbs are parryable, the yellow orbs are not. You have to dodge roll through the yellow or parry the red, and that zone is now safe. But I think the speed at which that happens, I don't want to say that that's bad. I just think that in a bullet hell where you are mentally thinking about parries, you now have dodges that are obviously like sort of counterproductive to do a dodge. Like you don't outright die for not parrying, but you lose DPS. But not really from a DPS standpoint, but more so like the more you don't parry and the more you dodge roll, I feel like you're going to stop doing parries at some point and just spam dodge roll. And now you're not even playing Deflector anymore. You're just playing Hades. Biome selection is like, it's kind of good. I think the game is actually like kind of good. Dead Cells is an example of a game that does have stuff that can't be parried, but I feel like parrying is something that you learn second. In Deflector, you learn parry first. And parry is like not a gameplay mechanic that I'd say most people gravitate to. The first thing you think of when you play these top-down roguelites is I'm playing Hades, I want to dodge roll. Dodge, revolution is what SD used to call it. So this is the opposite of that until they finally tell you, oh yeah, now you have dodge, revolution. Just don't do it though, because if you start doing it, you lose DPS. I'm actually like the biome selection, all that stuff. I think it's sometimes a little unreadable. Just like how Warm Snow was, but in Warm Snow, it's unreadable because I'm OP. In Deflector, the room is OP. I am only so strong to deal with that. Some of you were calling this game Game of the Year 2022. V, this game is the original Vampire Survivors clone. Did anything else do this before Vampire Survivors? Yes. But Vamp is the first game to either A, get on the stream that actually worked, and B, put emphasis on like the actual fun factor. Is it fun to fight against millions of PNGs? No. So like, what am I gonna do as the dev to make fighting PNGs entertaining? Okay, busted build simulator. I'm going to make it so that your build is as cool as possible. And then like the PNGs are dollar signs. Like you want PNGs. You want more PNGs. Other games have that as an issue where it's like, okay, I don't really want to play anymore. Stop throwing things at me. Imagine you have a Steam Deck. Shout out to anyone in the planet who has a Steam Deck. You're on the subway in New York City. You're playing Vampire Survivors. You're using like every battery in your Steam Deck because it can't handle all the PNGs at once. But it's a really good freaking train ride, I'll tell you that much. If I were playing Zelda Ocarina of Time on Nintendo 3DS, I'm falling asleep. Honestly, it does a lot right. You lose your first run, you get like 10 unlocks. Multiple characters. Okay, I hated that character, I'm gonna play a different one. You play that character gets its own unlocks. Okay, I got no unlocks in this run. What did I get? I got like a synergy that I didn't know existed because I got 2 things and then I unlocked the ability to see like an encyclopedia of stuff, which weirdly enough like should have been in the game in the first place. I don't really get that part. But I'm not gonna deduct points because of where they put the meta in the game, because it actually solves every issue that we have with some of these games, and they are still like fixing the game for even people like me who are haters. I'm just a hater. All right, Summum Aeterna. This is a Castlevania-like kinda. This one's kind of weird to describe. So imagine Dead Cells. 2-button Dead Cells. So you don't have a skill. You just have your primary weapon and then like an ulti. I know it's kind of weird. Like I see other buttons, but whenever I play this game, I've never had more than 2 buttons. So definitely someone can correct me on that. It is a game where you fight against enemies, as you see, very simple. And that's like cool and all. Like, and some of the enemies are actually very, very good monster design. But that's not really the game. The real game is right about... Where can I find this? We need the overworld. So there's 2 parts to it. There's like different weapons with different kinds of rarities. Demon's Mother update. New NPCs. Not you. Okay, this is it. All right, so this is the real game right here. It is procedurally generated, but imagine you're playing like Diablo or Path of Exile, where you are actually spawning a biome, and the biome is based off of an item that you spawn it with. And these have rarities to them. So you're actually like buffing enemies at random or doing like taxes and stuff like that. And you're getting bonus currency to make like higher level biomes. It's the weirdest gameplay loop, but I actually kind of love it. I don't know if anyone else has done this before. It's like making the maximum risk reward system where the reward is to be able to do the next hardest risk reward. It gives me a call back to Diablo 3 doing not hell, but I don't know if anyone knows, where it's like it's numbered tiered difficulties, where it's like you beat tier 13 to unlock tier 14, and all you're doing is trying to make yourself stronger so you can do the next tier. Very, very weird, but it's addicting. Loop Hero. I didn't finish Loop Hero. I think I only got through Act 1 and I didn't keep playing. I really wanted to, though. I liked the game. It was just, I didn't finish it. So V, what are your issues with this game? Okay, so number one, I only ever have 2 buttons for way too long. Like, you watch the trailer and you see the character like doing stuff. Like there was a lightning bolt there. Oh wow, I'm getting destroyed. There was like a gun attack and then an ulti. This is just the sword. The sword always just does. It's almost like I'm playing Terraria, where it's just like boop, 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 boop. No combos or anything. And you're seeing like this boomerang thing. That's just the second button for sword. So I think the game did a really bad job of, or maybe what they wanted to do was 2 Castlevania. You have a main weapon and a sub weapon. But the sub weapon, for a lot of times, I don't ever press it. If I press it, I'm probably just like trying to snipe a monster. I feel like that's not super great. Monster design, besides the bosses, are a little lackluster. The bosses are great though, but each individual monster is, in my opinion, just a green zombie. Some of them might do like an extra charge or something like that, but or it might do an aura around it, but nothing is really like cool. Like that monster, I love that monster. I never loved any monsters except the bosses in Summum Aeterna. I'm gonna put it down to the C rank. I feel like my B is a little bloated. If I were to play like between Rogue Legacy 2 and Summum Aeterna, I'd probably play Rogue Legacy 2. But this game is still in early access. I think there's a world where this could become a B tier or even an A tier because its biome creation is really fun. I just don't know what you do beyond just spawning the next biome. All right, almost done, by the way, almost done. Only 5 more. 2 minutes a pop, that's 10 minutes. 4-minute trailer, holy crap. All right, Little Noah. This is not a game I have finished, but it is a game that I have spent enough time in that I think I can accurately grade it. So Little Noah came out at random. I don't remember how I got notified about it. I believe it's made by the people who did Blaze Blue? Someone's gonna have to correct me on that. But I think it's made by an extremely talented Japanese team. The way how the game plays is that it's an action roguelite where you are essentially Pikmin. You're Oliver. Each individual button you have is just Pikmin. And each Pikmin does a specific attack. So you may have a Pikmin that does a fireball, and then another Pikmin that does a launcher. So like it's fireball into launcher, then the other Pikmin launches you up in the air, and then does like an aerial attack, and then the other Pikmin does like a slam downward. So like you design a little combo with these cute little anime Pikmin, and then your character can go Super Saiyan for some reason. That way you can clear goals and beat bosses. The game is extremely cute. It has a decent meta progression where it's like this overworld. You go up to your airship. The airship has all this building stuff to it, and each building, almost like Rogue Legacy, has its own thing. And there's ranks and affinities for each Peglin, not Peglin, each Pikmin, and there's equipment. Like, they thought of everything when they made this game. The only thing that I do not like, and this might be a me issue, is that there is so much dialogue in this game. And it is, as I said, it's a Japanese game, so you can almost think of it as a JRPG roguelike. I don't know how long the dialogue is, because again, I haven't beaten the game yet. I would love to get back to it, but I don't want to skip cutscenes. I want to watch them, but because I'm streaming, I feel like I can't. Gameplay, very fun. Cutscenes, I'm sure they're great. I have to deduct a point. Outside of that, there's not a lot that I would remove. I feel like it might have a little bit of a Cult of the Lamb issue where I don't know how the replayability is after you've S-tiered every Pikmin and you get through the main scenario. I know they did add free DLC and costumes, mind you. They have... Shoot, this might be S-tier by itself. Holy crap. They added... Please. I didn't want to go to the actual DLC page. They added Princess Connect Redive DLC outfits and Uma Musume Pretty Derby outfits. This might make the game S tier by itself, but they are $3 a pop, and I am not paying $3 for a skin. So I'm gonna actually put this in the A tier. I think it's really, really good. The only flaw is that I don't care for hearing the story on stream. Next up, Brotato. You may know this as a Vampire Survivors like. You are fighting PNGs. V. Do I want to buy a game to fight PNGs? It depends. Remember, the gameplay loop is that you're fighting PNGs one way, and you're like, okay, that was kind of addicting. I don't want to do it again. And the game is like, yo, here's another option for you. The game has like 30 characters, if not more. Over 100 weapons and relics. Each one with like different tiers, or at least the weapons have different tiers. So it has match 2 or match 3 on weapons. It has leveling up. But really the whole game is like Busted Build Simulator. And I've told you before, Busted Build Simulator, I don't know why that's like the best kind of gaming when it comes to me. So I don't think I can say that the game is not high tier. Now, compare it to Vampire Survivors. V, which one would you play? You have a gun pointed to your head. Choose one right now. Vampire Survivors, Brotato. What do I choose? If I'm streaming, Vampire Survivors, because it has Twitch integration. If I'm not streaming, Brotato, because I actually want to get a build. And Vampire Survivors, I feel like you don't really get a build. You get some options, and you just choose whatever's the best option. Okay. Garlic. I see garlic, I see Bible, I take them. Why would I not? In Brotato, it's not quite the same, because each character, and I know Vampire Survivors has characters. There's a character that maybe does bonuses to projectile count. You don't want garlic with projectile count. In Brotato, it has that too, but to a like 10th degree. So I think it's S tier quality. There's just like, it's just gaming, no story, no anything like that. Check out Madville, Good Kid Madville City. Buster keeps checking on me because he wants me to go to bed. He actually won't go to bed until I go to bed too. This reminds me of, not Forewarned, Breakthrough. We played a game called Breakthrough, which looks very similar to this aesthetically, except I think they tried to add more comedy to it. I do like the comedy aspect. I'm sure it's fun. I don't know if I have another slot to add another one of those kind of games, but it does look pretty entertaining, I would say. Garlic with projectile characters is still garlic. You're not wrong. But that's why I said it's almost like the illusion of choice. At least in Brotato, I feel like there's tangible choice there. All right, 20 minutes till dawn. This was the second PNG fighter that I played out of all of them. I like the game, I really do, but what this game had an issue with was balance. Like, there are some weapons in the game, because there's different characters, and each character starts off with a certain weapon. Some weapons were outright F tier. So there was a crossbow, and to play crossbow in a world where I could just play Elementalist or Lightning, which is technically Elementalist, or Summoner, why would I ever want to do stand still and shoot one bullet every 3 seconds when I can do this? Like, look at, okay, think about this. You're playing a roguelite with replayability. If I get middle, I'm pogging out. If I get, it was in here too, I'm not gonna be able to find it. If I get, please let this be the right spot. Like, this is okay. She shoots multiple bullets and then on reload, she shoots bullets around her. Oh, is it showing like the evolution of a single build? This is where it's like Resident Sleeper. So the build's cool at first, because you think about, okay, thrown daggers, the daggers are summons, you get summoner stuff, it's gonna be really cool. But until this build goes live, you're falling asleep. Like, you actually don't do anything until the build activates. And that, in my opinion, is like the worst part about this game. This is fun. The early part is not. This is fun. Shooting one bullet, not fun. And I know, yes, Vampire Survivors does that too. But in Vampire Survivors, your next, like, you have one weapon, your next weapon literally puts a second thing on the screen. And in 20 minutes till dawn, you may not get that. You may start off with one gun, little pea shooter. The next upgrade, pea shooter reload speed reduced by half. Oh, baby. I gotta deduct the point for that. The characters are cool. I feel like the maps are not, though. I think, and again, I might be wrong on this, but I think it's still the same maps. Unlike Vampire Survivors, where there's multiple maps, your character is fighting against the same one, and you do something else with the next character. I know Brotato has that, but Brotato's characters and build making is so different that the map itself is like invisible. And until dawn, in 20 minutes till dawn, the map is always visible to you. I know it's not like a bad game. I don't want to say it's outright unplayable, but in like the choices of other stuff, busted build simulators, so PNG fighters, bullet hells, anime Pikmin games, I'd rather play any of those over 20 minutes till dawn. And my B rank is kind of bloated right now. Oh, Soulstone Survivors. The next in the... Wait, that's not a PNG. This is three-dimensional PNG fighters? What's a... Wait, there's no such thing as a 3D PNG file. What is this, V? This is witchcraft. The best part about this game is that it is a busted build simulator. I'm so sorry that I have to keep saying that, but it's masked in an almost like an action RPG. So it does say stuff like craft and upgrade, and like this is early access. This stuff doesn't really do anything yet. Like, eventually the devs have already said, we want the crafting portion to be an integral part of the game. And we're not quite there yet. Really, the game right now is just like, I'm a barbarian. Oh, okay, look at this. I'm like a chaos sorcerer. I throw like multiple daggers, and every time I go into a portal, I do daggers around me, and I can make the daggers as big as the screen. I'm a barbarian. I spin to win. I spin every half a second. And then like I also nuke the board every like 3 seconds. So it's like I spin until my nuke is ready, and it's just boom. That's fun to me. But the other piece of the game, again, a lot of these games, is not really just this. V, show me the secret menu. I know you got some stuff behind the counter. The real game is hidden behind 2 things, and they both are grinding. And I know this is like the worst take you will ever hear, but this is Busted Built Simulator inside a hidden action RPG where all you do is grind. Look at this, 666 million currency. They're just grinding for currency. The currency is to unlock runes, and then you take the rune and you unlock the next harder difficulty tier to grind more currency. And I'm sure at some point there will be an end to the currency grind, but the devs have already said that the main, like, far out goal is that the grind doesn't stop. While weapons and characters will require mats, those are finite and we don't want them to feel grindy or take too long to unlock. We have other features planned, such as expanded skill tree that will consume resources. However, we're currently playing another major feature that should offer nearly endless ways to spend resources. I think that is the main game. It's not out yet, but that's what they're going into, similar to a Rogue Legacy 2. The Rogue Legacy 2 of Vampire Survivor likes. I don't think they're there yet. I think it's close. I think it's better than Vampire Survivors in terms of its build making, but right now all I'm doing is grinding for essentially nothing. Once they get that part, it's gonna probably go into S tier for me. Eyes in the Dark, The Curious Case of One Victoria Bloom. An extremely cute game. What this game is an action platform roguelite. Light, L-I-G-H-T. You're taking a flashlight, and your flashlight is your weapon. You can move it 360 degrees. You level up the flashlight to do different things. It might be like a laser beam. It might be dual-sided, like Darth Maul. It might pulse. It might be a giant sword. It might be, I guess, a machine gun, but it's light. And the light fights dark enemies and clears darkness that you can't see through. You have flash bombs. And the game takes place in a mansion where you're trying to uncover this story. But they do a good job where it's like the story isn't just like sit through a cutscene and listen. It's like, oh, here's like an NPC. Oh, I don't want to say like a Dark Souls where it's like you have to piece together the story yourself. They do tell you a lot. But the game doesn't just make you sit through cutscenes. It's an extremely cute game. You know, we give it bonus points for cuteness. The builds are fairly interesting. The only issue is that the flashlight has a cap to how many things you can put in it. And I want to say you do increase the cap over time, but I think it has a hard cap of, let's say, 5. So the 5 might be, okay, sword plus size plus pulse, and then like duration or something. It's cool, but because I know that there's an upper limit to how good my flashlight can be, I feel like almost like a Hades, there's a point where I have seen everything weapon wise, so I have to deduct the point for that. The biomes are pretty fun. I feel like they don't really have a lot of difference between the biomes. So for example, there's a greenhouse. The greenhouse has plant enemies, so the enemy designs are very interesting, but that could have been in the first biome. Like, we're just in a greenhouse just because. Boss design though, I really like the boss design. All of them feel extremely interesting. I'm not gonna say the game's bad though. I even though my B is bloated, I'm willing to keep it in the B tier. The way to make it an A tier is that, like, I think each biome would feel extremely different from the others. And it might, like, later in the game, and I just don't know it yet. But if you think about from like a new install perspective, you clear the first biome, wow, that was great. You clear the next biome, wow, it's the first biome with plants. I love plants, it's kind of great. I die, go back, okay, first biome again, I get it, it's first biome, it's whatever. Second biome, okay, now I love the plants, but I haven't really done anything new. I haven't really, like, used the platforming part. I just am in a box. All right, so that is my tier list. From my perspective, if you're a Revita fan and Revita is in the S rank for you, I am all for it. I'm in full agreement. Aeterna Noxus. If you are a fan of Aeterna Noctis and you hate the fact that I have this in the C tier, tell me that. I'm losing my voice because I've been talking for too long. That was fun. That took a little bit longer than I thought. There were 22 roguelike games that we covered in not 22 minutes. Why did we choose number 22 where it's 2022? I know there were games I didn't cover. If you want me to say a little bit of something about a certain game that came out in 2022, just ask me, I'll try to respond to it.